Part of me is like, I probably should have put on a pot of coffee and got some coffee to go along with this, but
Yeah.
it's fine.
Hey, you look like a cop, and you need your cup of Joe to be able to do your job right, because
This
you're
thing probably isn't gonna last past tonight, honestly.
you're a detective, and you got homicides to solve, honestly. And you got CIs and PIs who aren't doing their fucking jobs right. I cussed. I was gonna try
It's a
not to
dark and
cuss.
stormy day, and you got demonetized. You walked into my office, wondering if I can do anything to fix this problem. See who was this serial cusser in your neighborhood. I knew by the look of you that this case was going to be a tough one, but something I could not yet solve.
I'm sorry,
Trying to do the
boss.
whole LA noir type shit.
Here's my badge. This job
I
is too
want,
hard for me.
I want your badge on my desk this instant. You did not get me pictures of Spider-Man.
I'm so fucking sorry. Yeah.
Mark, you do not get me pictures of Spider-Man.
Um,
You have failed as a Viltrumite.
I pull out some Polaroids of like my balls in the bathroom, like obviously my balls, and I'm like, "Take these, sir. There are pictures of
Where is my
Spider-Man."
ball?
Where is, dude? Extra tuna. Subscribe and like. We need
The
to get to
2nd
100,000.
recording referencing this.
We need to get to 100,000 subscribers so that extra tuna can feel threatened by our presence. I have no idea. They're worse than toys in Japan. No, they're not worse than toys in Japan.
That is a name I thought I'd never hear in a long, long time.
Daddy finger. All right, so the first horror podcast thing we got
Hold
going on
on.
here. Okay, yeah,
Before
go ahead,
you
go
keep
ahead.
the intro rolling, I just want to see if something's noticeable on my end.
Okay. Well, the first horror podcast we're doing here, the Shudega Horror Readings. We will come up with a better name. I don't know. It's been 3 weeks since the first video. Got two new videos out. One out today. That's why I'm wearing the same outfit. It's not because I don't do my laundry. Well, maybe I don't really do my laundry that much. I kind of have a future wife who takes care of me because men, we can't take care of ourselves. But I digress. I digress.
Sorry, I was being raptured for a moment. I'm kidding. I have a flood lamp in here, so I was gonna see if that did anything because the only light source is behind me.
Yeah, I got a lamp right in front of me. I'll turn off my lamp. Ooh, we get the same level of darkness. All blue now. I can't key it out now because if I go to key it out, all of me is going to disappear. I gotta leave my light on. I didn't even think about that because if there's a blue light, well, even if I switch it to green, the green light would be on me. We're using NVIDIA to remove it because we don't have fucking blue screens and green screens to put behind us.
I mean, it works. It works. Like
All right,
it's
we've
got
been
pretty good tracking.
we've been yapping for a good minute, but it's been 3 weeks since the last one. We're bringing this one, and Thias or Thais, they originally posted this story on r/no sleep, and I got permission from them. They talked. They actually subscribed to the channel. Saw Robbie's camera went out.
No.
Recording again. Okay, let you blow your nose. Okay.
Sorry, my allergies are acting up, and I need to sneeze every 5 seconds.
Having a little bit of technical issues, but I'm
It's me. I'm technical issue.
I'm technical issues. Okay, so Thais, he got removed from r/no sleep. They didn't want him there. They think he's a stupid little wiener head. They didn't want him there.
Hey.
So we're stealing from Creepcast. We're Walmart Creepcast. We don't need to explain ourselves on that. All right, Robbie, take it away.
He's dead, I thought, finally realizing, stood over his body. What am I going to do? And truth was, I had no idea. Murder was a serious charge. I'd watched those true crime documentaries. I knew how this worked. The killer always gets caught, no matter what. God, I'm a killer. I looked around. We were in a small clearing in the woods east from my house. Woods that ever went into. That, oh no, yeah, my brain skipped over nobody. Mr. Nobody. Woods that nobody ever went into. Which was partly why we did. It was so that we can do whatever we wanted. You know, stupid challenges, games, that sort of thing. Stuff for laughs. But I wasn't laughing. And Josh certainly wasn't either.
First gay experience.
Just the tip. I looked back down at his body. It was awful. His clothes were torn and tattered, and his face was split open in an awful way. Down the left side of his head, you'd have to squint hard if you even wanted to lie to yourself that it looked anything remotely human. I need to predict. He is werewolf. He does not remember turning into werewolf and killing his best friend.
I think what I think happened was it was like a Slender Man thing, and he was like, Slender Man, his mansion's in these woods. And they're like, okay, let's check it out. And then he stabbed him 117 times in the face. Turned him
Tragic.
into mush.
I felt another pang of adrenaline. I need to be smart. I need to make this go away. I have to. I moved over to my left. There was a ditch here, about 2 meters deep. Shallow on one side, but rocky on the other. I looked back behind me towards John. I don't know why I read that to John's when I just established the name was Josh. He's Joshua John Elden Ring. Josh's bike. And started a piece of story together. Maybe, I thought. Maybe he was riding his bike down here. He got distracted by something. Maybe he went into these sharp rocks along the shallow side of the ditch. There was a bit where the rim turned upside down, like a ramp. Not upside down, upwards. Let me reread that. Along the shallow side of the ditch, there was a bit where the rim turned upwards, like a ramp. Okay. He went along here, this ramp, got distracted, hit the rocks. It was the only thing I could think of. Maybe the sharp rocks slit his face like that. It might be a little far-fetched, but it was the best I could think of. I took a deep breath and lifted Josh. He was heavier than I thought. I almost slipped in the wet dirt as I hoisted him over my shoulder and carefully placed him in the ditch. I tried to make it look like he was crawling away. Probably wouldn't have died straight away. Satisfied with the placement of him, I turned my attention to the bike. It was still pristine, as me and him had just stopped and leant them against a tree earlier on. That's not going to work, I thought. It needs to be bashed up more. I grabbed his bike and slowly rolled it up the mud in the path it would have gone, and then lifted it up and threw it across the ditch into the rocks. I picked it back up again and did it again. That looks alright. Alright, quick pause. How funny would this be instead of an actual creepy story if this was like a killer's confession?
Yeah, he's like, I just did this. As the cops show up and they're like, why is this bike look like it's been hit by a baseball bat 100 times? And this kid has like 4-inch stab wounds in his face from a serrated blade, and he has rigor mortis hug marks on the side of his body. He's clearly murdered.
Already, it was not mentioned if the main character did this with gloves by picking up his body. So if it's without gloves, already gonna be a question of like, why are your fingerprints all over this body? And you could, and unless he goes, well, I was trying to keep him steady and like breathing still, and it's like, no,
This is a heat in the moment seeming crime. It seems like they rode their bikes out. They were going out there to have gay sex, and then he was like, "You know what? I ain't doing this no more."
maybe they were just having a heated gay love affair.
I wonder how old they
Maybe,
are.
maybe this is the bad ending to Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, the bad. Yeah.
The bad ending.
Oh God.
The nose bridge pinch.
Yeah.
You were not ready for that.
Yep. Yeah. The bad ending, opposed to the good ending of Brokeback Mountain.
I didn't pick it back up afterwards. It was already in a good spot, and probably would be more authentic if I didn't pose it. The last thing I did was take my jacket off, and with all the blood on it, hoisted it under my arm, put it on the seat of my bike, and after taking one last look back, rode back home. I left Josh there, and with him, a little bit of myself as well. I unlocked the front door of my house and hurried inside. I ran up to my room immediately and hid the coat under my bed. I'll figure out what to do with it later. I dulled my brain with a shooter game, barely paying attention. The rain outside was a small
Of course,
mercy.
dude. Video
Maybe
games
it
breed violence.
would. Guns don't kill people. Uh, uh.
Mm-mm. I
I
kill
kill
people.
people with guns. Pow. Fucking Filthy Frank was.
Filthy Frank.
Was it Filthy Frank
That's
or was that a
John
different song?
LaJoie.
Was it?
That's the show me your genitals guy. I remember seeing
Those-
Nancy Grace on the news talking about that.
Really?
Yeah, she was offended. Nancy Grace only did two things in her career: talk about John LaJoie and his sexist ways, and Casey Anthony. Dude, this kid just
no.
Casey Anthony this boy.
Oh no.
He obviously did it, but the jury's gonna be like, not guilty. Okay, you go ahead.
The rain outside was a small mercy. Maybe it would wash away some evidence. My mom. Oh, we dealing with European slang.
We don't know.
The British.
Do you think they're British? That changes. I have to read this in a British accent. They're British. They're not British.
It's fine. It is probably just how they were raised. Because I know some people in the States were raised with mom and dad.
Yeah, he said my mom, not me mom.
Hold up now. My mom was coming back from work by now. And so I was now trying to act in higher spirits, so nothing seemed off. I guess I probably had up until this evening before the police would be called. Josh usually lingered in town for a few hours after we hung out, and so it wasn't unusual for him to be home late, but he wouldn't come home today. I heard the key turn in the door. It made me jump. I got up and plastered a smile across my face and went to meet her at the front door.
Hello, Dan.
She called from the hallway.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom.
Okay.
Are we not doing the I voice the narrator parts?
Yeah, I think not to bring up stealing from Creepcast again, but they just read the quotations.
Oh no, we really are stealing from Creepcast. Nah,
I think it's good.
I'll let you read all the quotations.
Okay. Oh.
Run
Hey,
it back
Mom.
from the top.
Okay. Hello, Dan.
She called from the hallway.
Hey, Mom.
I said, lingering in the doorway, arms crossed.
Did you have fun with Josh today?
She said, back turned to me, hanging up her coat.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Had to come home a bit early, though. He said he needed to do something.
That's a lie. I fucking killed him.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't important anyway. It's the holiday now. You could always hang out with him tomorrow. Yeah.
I said, my smile slowly fading. Well, I just start doing like the Venom bit of like, just being like, no, we totally fucking killed him. We murked his ass.
We killed him.
We got
We
a
ate
new
him.
tactical nuke. Let us go to the convenience store.
I stabbed him
Buy me.
117 times, Mom.
Buy me chocolate. Fuck.
Me need Ed Hardy.
When I went to bed that night, every time I closed my eyes, I could see that ditch etched into my mind. The mangled roots, the mangled bike, the mangled body. The triple mangler? I got maybe half an hour of sleep before my alarm jolted me awake at 5 a.m. I immediately remembered Josh's face. Twisted, warped, impossible. Felt like a stranger in my skin. The air was suffocating. The rooms in my house felt far larger than I'd ever noticed, and that they had any right to be. Large and empty, nothing felt right. I don't know how to describe it to you because I can't even really understand it myself. But the thought of Josh's parents sat there, worry building, waiting anxiously for a boy who would never come back, their only son, made me sick. I felt sick. I'm not sure if my mom had noticed that something was up. I mean, she must have. But I noticed her giving me weird looks for that entire morning. Occasional glances. All of this pressure kept building and building and building and building to an almost unbearable level until, at around 1 in the afternoon, there was a knock on the door. I'm sorry, but when I read that building and building and building and build, like, my mind went back to the an Under's Tale of just the repeatedness of walking underground.
You're plagued. You can probably
I'm
see the future of
cursed.
brain rot. It's probably going to be a brain rot meme in the next few months, and you're just early.
I'm very fucking early.
You're just early. You're like a prophet. You know what's coming for the younger
Dude,
generation.
my brain is so fucked. There was actually, as I was waiting to get my stitches removed, there was another guy waiting to be called. And when I heard his name be called, it was Edwin.
Oh my fucking god, no. No, his name wasn't Edwin.
My brain immediately played the whole my name is Edwin.
I built a mimic. It was difficult.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so fucking. I'm so bad, dude. The brain rot spread. Like the rot in Radon in Elden Ring was spreading through his body, and his YouTube channel is slowly spreading throughout my soul.
Yeah, follow the Twitch. We're doing seamless co-op. Renal is next on our list.
Trade offer. We offer you meaningless content in exchange for time of your life you're never going to get back. We don't even need you to watch it. Just listen to it in the background, please.
Trade offer.
Please.
The biggest goon session this world has ever seen. This Saturday night. This Saturday live!
Gooners in my bed. Sigma's on my trail instead.
Okay, let's get back to the story before people click away.
I mean, you could edit that out mostly.
I won't.
You could trim it down if you're really
No.
worried about people
Nope.
clicking off.
Nope, I
No?
won't.
All right. Let's see.
There was a knock on the door.
Yeah, that's where I left off. My mom answered it. And as I sat there in the living room, head in my hands, I could hear what the man at the door was saying. It was muffled, but clear enough for me to hear parts of it. Yes. No. Oh, wait.
Hold on.
This was like more internal dialogue written because of the slant. Like that's how I've
Yes.
read a lot of that, and I will
Yes.
admit I have read my
No.
fair share of fan fictions. I know the slanted means inner monologue. I am truly cultured weeb trash of the internet.
Yes. No, he didn't. His parents haven't seen him. If we could just. Dan!
My mom said, opening the door and letting the man into the room.
This man here just needs to ask you some questions. It's about Josh.
I bottled everything down, swallowed, and then spoke as clearly as I could. Maybe a little bit too quickly, but it was the best I could do.
Josh?
I looked away from my mum and now at the officer. He had a warm, kind facial expression, but with a twinge of unease and awkwardness. He was about to break the news. I'm not supposed to know yet.
What happened to him?
I chuckled slightly.
Has he gotten himself into some more.
I trailed off. Alright, immediately, this is sus as fucked, because obviously, yeah, officer comes up to the door. You could assume something's happened to him, but a better nonchalant way would have been saying, did something happen?
Yeah, something. Yeah, okay.
Because, like, think about it. What's happened to him implies. How do you know something happened to him? It could have just been about him. Like, maybe he broke into a. Like maybe he was selling dope.
Well, he's getting himself into trouble, you know.
Yeah, like, he got. Yeah, he got himself into any kind of trouble. You were the last with him.
Also, it's
But,
only the first night. They're pretty early on this. All right.
yeah, something sus.
Listen, Dan. Josh hasn't been seen since yesterday morning. Now, we've spoken to his mother, and she says that she last saw him when he went out with you. Now, if that's true, this means that you might have been the last person to see him.
I was staring at the name tag on his uniform. I didn't interpret it as letters, just shapes. I wasn't really focusing on it anyway. He shuffled in his seat slightly.
Look, I know it's a lot to handle right now, and I understand that you two are close. But do you think that we could just ask you some questions?
I told him that we went up into the woods, although I lied about where exactly. Then I said that after a little while of just chilling out, he'd gone further in, and I just turned around and gotten home. All the while, the officer was nodding comfortingly, and never once changed facial expression from that slight smile. A smile that didn't reach the eyes. I suppose I was relieved, I guess, that I wasn't being taken in or arrested. In fact, I didn't get any sort of feeling that he even considered me a suspect. And I don't blame him. I don't have a history of any. Okay, this is getting into narcissistic territory. I never get into any fights at school. I keep my head down. There's not a lot to go on there. And one kid in the woods on his own, anything could have happened. A murder, especially by the kid's best friend. Probably wouldn't be high on the list of possibilities. This is some fucking light Yagami type shit. Like, he's like, yeah, no, like, I'm totally gonna get away with this. I'm totally the least suspicious person.
It kind of reminds me of Jeff the Killer.
Kinda. After about half an hour, the officer left, saying he would keep us posted on the search effort, and that was that. Apart from the odd missing poster put up around town, there wasn't really much reminding me of Josh. I'd stopped riding my bike, though. That, and at least, was something that reminded me of the scene. But it was getting easier. Why did he kill his best friend anyway? Like, initially, like,
We'll have to keep reading to find out.
I hope we find out. I got rid of the jacket with all the blood on it, and although the officers came back to the house a few times, I stuck to the same story, and after a few days they stopped. I felt like I could finally start moving on, at least. And occasionally, I'd pass by the window of Josh's house on the way into town and see his mother sat, head in hands, and she'd given me that comforting smile. Same one that didn't reach the eyes, and I'd return it. And deep down, I didn't know if it was worse that I had done the crime in the first place, or the fact that I was brushing it off so easily. However, this brief comfort ended about a week after the day I killed him, because after I had hid his mangled body in a ditch and lied to everyone I knew, I got a knock on the door. And, as I peered through the window to check who it was, my blood ran cold. Josh was stood outside my front door, grinning. I just sort of stood there, like an idiot. It was him. Of course it was. It was Josh. And somehow, his face looked fine. It looked normal. His face was all black and was all back in place. Oh no, what did I read back as black? I'm gonna be labeled a racist. Alright, I'm reading that line from the top. His face was all back in place, and his clothes looked fine. He'd noticed me at this point. He waved to grab my attention, and with that grin still on his face, eagerly pointed towards the door, mouthing,
Let
"Let me
me
in."
in.
Bro, this has gotta be a skinwalker, right?
It's gotta be. Well, maybe not. Maybe his friend is an alien.
What if a spirit in the woods possessed the body?
What if he had venom?
I didn't know exactly what to think, but I found myself unlocking the front door, and there he was. The person I'd left muddied and bloodied in the woods stood about a meter away from me, clean and healthy. He pushed past me without a word and walked in.
Hey, I thought we were going back out in the woods today.
Took me a second to turn around and face him, to process what he just said.
Josh, you. Well, are we gonna go then?
He interrupted, still grinning, but with slight impatience. He pushed back past me into the garden before I even had a chance to say anything, and got on his bike that he had left leant against the front of my house, that clean, very much not battered bike. I rode next to him. It wasn't possible. It wasn't. I could still see his mangled face in my mind. It still haunted me. And now, it was all too much. It was supposed to be final. I'd convinced him to avoid the woods. He'd protested, but I was adamant. I didn't want to go back there anytime soon. And I wasn't sure what I'd find there anyway. It was still smiling. It hadn't fallen once since he arrived at my house, and it wasn't getting any less unsettling. We were riding now into town. He said we'd go and pick up some food, then sit down somewhere and just hang. I looked back at him. He slowed to a stop.
Heh, look at that.
I turned and faced the other way. He was pointing at one of those missing posters that his mother, only a few days ago, had plastered up on every pole or wall around town.
What about it?
My voice, hollowed, managed at least to blur out that coherently enough.
Well, I don't know. It's weird how everyone thought I was missing for a week, right? Even my mom. It's not like her to forget.
I furrowed my brow. Seeing that missing poster at least meant that I wasn't going crazy. But still, I had to be cuckoo somehow.
I mean, she even called the police, if you can believe that.
I grunted.
But it's okay.
He continued.
I told her about what happened, and she phoned them saying it was all right.
I noticed I was slowing down, so I caught back up to him. As we rode further up our road, past his house, we both slowed as we approached the window. My eyes involuntarily drifted toward it. I looked, and after Josh waving, we both saw his mother grinning and waving back, her head moving between two people. Two people. I stopped suddenly. He stopped too, and looked at me in confusion. I tried to think about how to ask this. I didn't want to be too direct, but I still needed to know the truth.
Listen, Josh,
I looked at him. He nodded.
what did you mean when you said your mom forgot?
He started chuckling and seemed to relax a bit.
Well, it's the funniest thing.
He leaned in closer towards me.
She somehow doesn't remember driving me up to the camping spot last Tuesday. Isn't that mad? I think they're British.
I blurted an affirmation. Tuesday. That was the day after I killed them. I pressed further.
Do you remember what happened last Monday?
His grin stopped for a moment, and then returned.
Well, come on, of course I remember. You do too, right? In the woods?
He chuckled and started writing again. I joined him, dumbfounded.
The question is did he kill his friend or did he kill something else? Or is this his friend or is this something else?
Or we might be dealing with him jumping to a different timeline or timelines merging. Like this could
That,
be like some
that would be
weird Silent
the
Hill shit where like the town is like supernatural that way.
that would be the lamest outcome.
Well, what if this is like a Coraline situation where it's like an other world, but instead of like obvious buttoned eyes and stuff and all that, it's just like
I definitely think we're leaning more Skinwalker or maybe what he killed wasn't his friend. Maybe that's why he killed him. We don't
maybe.
know. Maybe he'll try to kill him again.
If the protagonist is a serial killer. I tried to push it to the back of my mind, as difficult as that was, and pretended everything was fine. We stopped off at the chip shop. Yeah, they're definitely British. Picked up some food and rode up to the park just as we would do often. It was really odd. It wasn't the fact that he was back from the dead that freaked me out. It was the way he was acting. He was like this normally, stupidly positive, and before that was something that was and before that was something that was good. What?
That reads weird, yeah. But you just gotta say it. Get
Yeah,
through
and
it.
before there was something that was good things were always fun with Josh, but now it was creeping me out. And the fact that he seemed to know what I did to him as well. Does he know I killed them? We sat and ate in silence. I couldn't think of anything to say. And he seemed to be perfectly content eating his chips, so I didn't feel a need to say anything. After a few minutes, he finally spoke.
What have you been up? I'm switching to British. I'm switching to British.
They're either British or Australian or any other European place that calls fries chips.
They're British. What have you been up to in the last week then, while I was gone?
He paused, smiling.
Camping? Camping?
I found myself mutter.
Yeah, of course. I messaged you last week about it. Don't tell me you're forgetting too.
His teeth chomped down on another chip. I felt for my phone. I hadn't gotten a text from him. I knew that. I had spent the first few days after I killed him constantly rereading our last conversation. I unlocked my phone, Josh still happily eating, and navigated to our messages. I read our last conversation. It was on Sunday. I breathed a sigh of relief. It didn't happen. Josh stopped eating and looked at my phone. He grabbed it out of my hands.
Why are you up here?
He chortled.
Look, you have to scroll down, you knob.
He's. You went from British to slightly Australian
Hey,
with that, at least.
hey. we're not gonna bring attention to it, okay?
He scrolled the chat down and then thrusted the phone into my face. I read what it said. Monday, 12:10 p.m. Josh.
Oi, Dan, listen, I'm going camping tomorrow. Can't remember if I told you or not.
That was so bad. I love it. I swallowed. I'd never seen that text before. He frowned suddenly and looked back at my phone.
Oh, look,
He said.
I didn't scroll far enough.
He fumbled with it for a second and then placed it into my hands. He turned away and continued eating. I looked and focused down at the phone. It was the most recent message on Monday, last week at 12:12 p.m. It said,
Mate, why do you never invite me to these things? LOL. Anyway, hope you have fun, bro.
I chuckled nervously for a split second and then stopped myself. The text is from me. I looked at Josh, keeping eye contact with him, while slowly turning my phone off and placing it into my pocket. He wiped his greasy hands on his jeans and smiled.
You gonna eat any of yours?
I hadn't even touched my portion. I looked around the park for a second. The only exit was in front of us, in front of the bench. I looked back at Josh.
Yeah, listen.
I sprang to my feet and got onto my bike. As I started pedaling, I shouted to him.
You can finish them!
I turned my attention back to what was in front of me. I knew where I needed to go. I could hear him calling my name, no doubt getting on his bike and chasing after me. But I knew what I needed to do and where I needed to go. First of all, I had to lose him. As I left the park gates, I immediately turned into an alley and then turned right. I continued straight ahead for a while before turning back out onto the main road. I was heading towards the woods. I slowed slightly and turned around. I couldn't see him. I didn't know how close he was, but he didn't have line of sight to me, which was something. I gritted my teeth and entered into the woods. I still remember the route we went through that day. It wasn't a particularly difficult one, as it was mainly a straight line, which I still remember the route we went through that day. It wasn't a particularly difficult one, as it was mainly a straight line with a hard left turn, and the landmarks along the route were distinct enough for me to remember easily. When I got there, my suspicions were confirmed. The body and the bike was still there, exactly as I left it. It was rotting now. I gagged and looked away. So, what the fuck is the Josh I was just eating chips with? I didn't know what to do. I could point the body out to the police. That could work. An autopsy would say the body was rotting for a week. That would prove that the Josh that was still alive was some kind of fake, but they then realized that it was me? I didn't know what to do. I wanted to turn it in.
Don't do that.
I turned around. Josh was stood next to his bike, about maybe 10 meters away from me. He wasn't smiling anymore.
How did you... What the fuck are you?
I said, but he didn't answer.
You're not gonna tell the police anything.
He said,
I'll be back up here in a bit to sort all of this out. What are you?
I repeated.
You let me live my life, I'll let you live yours. We won't talk about this again.
His voice was sounding oddly deep and raspy.
Remember, it's what you did. I'll see you soon.
But before I could respond, he was already far away.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. So...
Gotta be a skinwalker, right?
We're not getting answers.
I mean, that's fine. I like a good mystery.
We ain't
I'm just
getting them.
like it's either a skinwalker or it's an alien of some kind that can I guess copy the body of a person.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like why did he kill him? Is he a skinwalker? It's been a week. No one sees anything weird with this kid. What's his goal?
It's like why did the protagonist kill his friend? Why is this fake friend like what is this? Why is this? Because it knows, like, obviously it knows what the protagonist did. But the thing is, that really fucks with me. It warped reality. It's like,
Hey,
missing
man, I changed
person.
the phone.
The missing person still happened. It changed the protagonist's phone to show text that did not exist. And gaslit not just the deceased friend's mom being like, don't you remember we went camping on Tuesday? Why did you call the cops saying I was missing?
It only took us 38 minutes to read that. I feel like we need like a short story.
I'll voice act.
Okay, you're gonna give me the honors.
I'm giving you the honor.
Okay, I'm not gonna read a single thing in quotations. So I'm just gonna let
Wait,
you have
really?
it.
Like not even like
Not even the first two
description?
words.
Not even the description quotations?
No, I'm just gonna let you have it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get started into this. Good luck sleeping after this. Someone keeps rearranging the letters in the craft store I work at. It's starting to get creepy. I stared at the aisle end cap display of glittery
Disco ball.
letters. Someone had lovingly rearranged the letters to spell out boobs, dick, fuck. One word per shelf, in that order, like they purposely made them go from less obscene to more obscene. The only shelf they didn't touch was the one that was half covered by the advertisement that read 50% off disco letters. It wasn't worth the effort, I guess, if no one was going to see it.
Teenagers.
I growled under my breath. I didn't want to sound curmudgeon-y, but damn. It was 15 minutes till closing, and I had a family to get home to. A little girl who stayed up past her bedtime just to hug me goodnight. When you're young, everything's so fucking funny. They never think of the consequences. This person, they are sounding pretty curmudgeonly. All they did was rearrange those letters, just smack it, and then fucking go home.
He's fucking crashing out.
It's gonna take 20 seconds to fix.
He's crashing out.
I rearranged the letters, grumbling all the while. Fucking boobs, dick, fuck. You know what? Fuck this job!
This dude's crashing out. What the fuck?
Then I walked away, muttering curses to myself, pushing the dust mop over the aisle floor. I was the only one in the store, and this had to get done before I closed up, or I'd be yelled at. We had a militaristic boss who checked the security camera tapes like a psycho. When I went into aisle 32, however, there was another one. Flaccid. Okay, I had to give them points for creativity on this one. We mostly sold out on these.
Oversized gold party letters.
There were only 10 left. It took a lot of creativity to form an obscene word out of 10 letters. Kudos, honestly. I re-scrambled the letters and continued through the store. I got to aisle 44, however, where we keep the wooden paintables, like birdhouses and the like. Someone had to rearrange the wooden letters into words. Just one word, not obscene. Help. I froze staring at the letters. Well, that was disconcerting. That had to be another joke, right? Trying to give someone a scare. Well, they succeeded. I glanced around the store and even crouched to check the space under the aisle shelves. No one was there, of course. I stood back up and continued pushing the dust mop. 9:03. Fuck. I had to hurry it up and close up. I went on mopping through the aisles as quickly as I could. When I got to the baking aisle, my eyes fell on the cookie cutter letters. I knew there was going to be another word or message waiting, and there was. The cookie cutters had been balanced upright, reading, "Watching you." All the blood drained out of my face. That is kind of creepy.
Yeah. Went from flaccid to help to watching you.
Yeah. Shut up, I told myself, pushing the mop faster. It's just a bunch of teenagers trying to scare people. Obscenities and creepy messages. This screams of 14-year-old boys who watch a horror movie once. Except, what if it was two different people? The thought lingered in my brain. It was a Friday, one of our busiest days. Close to 100 people had probably been... Why did I say close like that? Close to 100 people had probably been in the store over the whole day. I hadn't been in the baking aisle since yesterday cleaning. What if these messages are real? What if someone is watching you? I thought of one of our regulars, a guy in his 60s, white hair, roving eyes, thin frame, named Edwin. I always thought it was a little weird that he came in so often. I mean, I think it's amazing when guys craft, but he just stuck out like a sore thumb among the older ladies in the families, especially because he seemed to buy such varied stuff. Clay one day and paint by numbers the next, rather than sticking with one niche hobby. What if he'd been coming here so often? Because of me. He was always over friendly. We have a girl author, our narrator here.
Wait, is it actually?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dudes don't get harassed by old men. Yeah,
let me reread something. Because I'm trying to see where it was talking about the crash out for family thing.
Yeah, we know they have a kid, so could be a woman.
And I had a family to get home to. Little girl who's okay, so yeah, it really doesn't specify.
I'm gonna assume it's a girl though.
Yeah, that's the safe assumption.
What if he'd been coming here so often because of me? He was always over friendly, his gaze lingering sometimes glancing down to my big old Schmeat. I ran to the storage closet and threw the dust mop in, got my keys and purse, headed towards the front door to lock up. But as I hurried down the aisle, something caught my eye. I turned. The disco ball letters, they'd been rearranged. Instead of cities and random gibberish, they now read, "Better run." Time seemed to stop. My heart dropped to the ground. Someone else is in the store. I glanced around, just in time to see a shape dart behind the aisle, too quick to see anything. Apparently gender, race, age, but enough to see that someone was there. Just a flicker of movement. I sprinted towards the door. I didn't even bother locking up as I ran out to my car. My footsteps pounded on the pavement. Something collided with me from the side. I fell to the ground hard. The asphalt scraped against my cheek. I scrambled up to see a figure standing over me, silhouetted by the red glow of the Crafts 4 All sign. It was a man, but younger than the guy I was thinking of. Someone I vaguely recognized, who'd been in the store at some point, but I couldn't quite place.
Got you.
He growled, his throat gravelly. I scrambled up, stood there frozen staring at him, locked in a stalemate. Then I dashed around the other side of the car, dove in and hit the locks. His palms hit the glass. The instant the locks clicked, he tried the handle over and over again.
Hey!
He shouted. I climbed over the center console, got in the driver's seat, and reversed out as fast as I could, not bothering to look if I ran any part of him over. I drove and drove, not even glancing in the rearview mirror until I got home. My husband called the police as I hugged my little girl, who was still waiting up for me. Imagine how long she would have waited if I never came home. Interesting. I wonder if this is based on a true story, because this is just something that could have happened.
Makes the first three letters really or not letters but words really disturbing if you take his motives.
Yeah, I clicked on it because I thought it would be funny, and that's something that could just happen. It's very creepy.
Honestly, this reminds me of what's that? I think it's like an indie game.
Baldi's Basics.
No. Trying to be serious. It's like it's a game with like horror stories based on like real life situations. I know the YouTuber. I think it's like Manly Badass Hero played it. It was fuck, I can't remember the name of it. Just insert the game name and picture just here on my hand when we discover it later. There's a car that leaves their convenience store, and when you enter the house that you're house sitting, and you look out into the street a little bit later, you notice the exact same car. And long story short, through the security cameras, you find like a woman roaming around the outside windows of the kitchen into the dining room, and then like she breaks in and stuff. It's like, and effectively what it is it's the protagonist's ex-girlfriend who's probably definitely on drugs, and she's trying to kill him because she's stalking him, obsessed or whatever.
So
And
that's
like,
real. Could happen.
yeah, like that's a real life scenario that can happen, especially if someone's in an abusive relationship. So
Yeah, and I want to rewind and talk about the first story a little more. I feel like I ran past that pretty quick because I want to give my reviews. You know, we did reviews the last time. I want to do it again.
we nearly forgot.
So let me put this up. um, the first story, I did like it. It was very vague. I didn't really get scared by it. Being in their shoes, very creepy, but as long as there's no harm, no foul, I feel like I could play along with new Josh, with imposter Josh, whatever it is.
Listen, it literally said, "You let me live my life, I let you live yours."
I feel like what could be interesting if he made a part two, and I feel like there'd be a lot of horror getting into the idea of like this thing basically blackmailing him into doing things. It's like, oh, I know where the body is, and you can't hide it. I'll tell that you killed me, and I will hide myself. I will make sure you go to jail for doing this. So I need you to do these terrible things for me. He could like blackmail the narrator into like killing neighborhood cats, dogs, maybe even his own mom.
Could you imagine if there is a part two to that? It's just from another person's perspective, like a mutual friend maybe,
I looked
and
at
they just
Theus's Reddit to see if he had anything else, and I saw another story that said like a cave killed my friend, something like that.
shit cave stories?
Cave? Yeah, I did a cave story too.
Cave? Cave-ins? Nah.
So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. It's not bad, but I just feel like it was vague enough that my mind isn't wandering too far. I don't really care about the answers. I mean, the kid's a piece of shit. He killed his friend.
I mean, obviously we never got answers to that, so like,
Maybe Joss was a piece of shit. I mean, I have no idea what to think.
yeah.
There's so little to work with that I cannot really say anything about it. So I'm just throwing it right in the middle.
Yeah, honestly, 5 is a fair thing, because we literally don't know a lot of the circumstances around the main character. And like, I do love stories that are vague. I was expecting like some sort of payoff to at least knowing why the protagonist did what he did in the story. Because like, if I were to do something like that, I would be like, "Hey, yo, what the fuck are you? What do you want from me?"
Yeah, I'd be trying to defend myself. Like he was doing this, that. Or it didn't
It's
even
like,
play into like the narrator wasn't even a psychopath, seemingly.
what if his friend was actually bullying him? What if he was hanging out with the local bullies? Like, what if
We
like,
never know.
we will never know, indeed.
And the second
Unless he does a
story,
part two.
the second story was short. If it's a true story, it's a very real thing that could happen to like any woman at work. It's a very real
Mm-hmm.
possibility. It's
Mm-hmm.
very creepy. It's very like alarming. I'm gonna give it a little bit higher than the last story. I don't think it's better. I just think if it's true, it gets a 7 on my Richter scale because I feel like I'd be fucking scared.
The
But
funniest thing is I was actually gonna give it a 7. So like the fact
yeah,
that the fact that you said it, I'm like, well, at least we're in an agreement.
yeah, that's traumatic, dude. I would not go back to that job unless the
I would
fucking
fucking hand in my resignation letter that day. It's like I'm like, listen, we're the like at minimum 2 employees for a night shift
yeah.
for the exact reason of getting robbed.
Yeah,
And being robbed,
it wasn't even
yeah, like
robbed.
they want the I know she wasn't getting robbed. I know what the attacker wanted from her. I'm just saying like at minimum night shift employees usually are 2 because if someone gets robbed, you're like like the store getting robbed, that's still an assault to your person as the employee. Like yeah, they want like, company property for like the money and stuff, but your well-being is at effect. You're being assaulted.
Yeah, highest priority. And, she said that her boss is a psycho bitch. So it seems like she looked at the cameras, see this guy.
I like the second story did a lot to build up of a we should be concerned for this protagonist since she did mention her family early on, and just the fact of like it went from haha funny teenagers writing funny words with letters that are being sold at the store to, oh hey, the attacker's motive is probably very obvious.
Yeah, nothing
Those
very shady.
funny those funny sexual letterings are very disturbing now. Rereading it.
Yeah. If you're a girl, leave your trauma stories in the comments below.
No.
If you're a guy, leave a time you tried to assault a woman in the comments below.
Oh, oh no.
All right, I think
Or inversely, because we believe in equal rights, the vice
yeah.
versa.
If you're a girl who's harassed a man, confess. If your dude's done it, confess in the comments so we can seek divine retribution and punish you.
We are not legally binding.
Citizen's arrest. Robbie has a gun.
I do not.
Okay, well, he has a sword.
I want to own a gun at some point. I think owning like a Beretta or something, or just a fucking Glock, just
Yeah.
for safety, would be cool. I don't know.
Get it so you can point it at the camera when we record these.
I want to get a Revolutionary War musket and a cannon, and have home defense like the founding fathers intended.
This motherfucker's gonna pay.
See someone break into my house, I sick my pit bull named Princess on him. I attach the bayonet and do a bayonet charge.
Scat! You motherfucker!
This is obviously after I shoot the cannon.
Yeah. Stand back. Misses. It takes out the entire side of your house wall.
I put my hair back and then just put on a powdered wig.
For the colonies.
Like
13 united.
Like the founding fathers intended.
All right, let's end out the video by singing saying the national anthem, the way God intended. Okay, you want to lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us? It gotta be over your heart.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
to the
to the
flag,
flag of the United States of America, under one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
For all.